Stocks trend upward as the Dow Jones tries for a 4-day winning streak. Trump signs an executive order getting tough on police. Colin Kaepernick may be an advisor for the NFL. Who knows at this point here? And we'll take a second shot at looking at that article about space that I tried to load up yesterday that just wouldn't load up. I'm Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Alright, sorry for the delay, folks. It looks like I didn't have any of the monitors up here. Doesn't look like I've got the chat up either, so I'm a little bit behind here, behind the 8 ball, but we got a bunch of stuff to get to today, so we need to go ahead and get that started here. And while the chat is loading up here, make sure you head on over to freedomscoop.com. Freedomscoop.com is going to be your one-stop shop for all of your news and commentary needs. It looks like my contemporary from yesterday isn't processing, so we'll be on YouTube's ass about that, but you can go check out my shows. You can check out the Daily Ignoramus. The Generational Gap has a new show. They did something, I think, outside of their regular schedule. Plus, you can check out the R-Rated Conservative. You can check out the Freckles and Brit show. You can check out Wyatt Birkenhoff and many other great creators that are coming down the pipe. So come over there and check us out. So we're going to start off with our stocks for the day here. Looks like the Dow Jones is not set up here for me to look at here, but it looks like we had a fairly steady day. We had some ups and we had some downs, but you know, we're above where we were yesterday, and we've cracked the 26,000 mark again. So I'm still looking at this, and I'm still seeing some good news. I know that everybody looked at what we saw at the end of last week and said, "Oh, it's time. It's the Trump economy kicking in again, and it's not the Obama economy anymore. And now this is going to be your W-shaped recovery, and we're just going to sink to the bottom until we get another virtuous Democrat sitting in there." But it doesn't seem like that's going to be the case. Once again, we watch this closely every day, so we will know right off the top what's going to be good and what's going to be bad. But let's see what the investors have to say about this. So, from Investors Business Daily, Dow Jones futures jumped 225 points ahead of Fed Chief Powell testimony and surging coronavirus stock market rally. This is from Scott Latonin. We don't hear so much from him as we do from the other authors over there, but let's see what Scott's got to say. Dow Jones futures rallied more than 225 points before trimming gains early Wednesday, along with S&P 500 futures and NASDAQ futures, after Tuesday's coronavirus stock market rally surged higher following President Trump's reported $1 trillion infrastructure proposal. I would still love to know where you're getting the money for that, Mr. President. Strong retail sales and bullish COVID-19 drug news. Top growth stock, Advanced Micro Devices, headline these 6 top stocks in or nearby zones. The coronavirus stock market rally continued Tuesday with a sharp rise as the Dow Jones Industrial Average surged 526 points. AMD, Alibaba, Domino's, Lam Research, Netflix, and Qorvo are in or near new buy zones. Dow Jones stocks leaders Apple and Microsoft are approaching record highs. I'm kind of interested to see Domino's out there because it turns out that the left tried to destroy them again because of a compliment that they gave to Kayleigh McEnany 8 years ago. And it wasn't even a compliment. They just thanked her for the fact that she said, "Oh, well, I like your pizza better than the New York style," which New York style sucks. I do a lot of East Coast stuff, as you can see behind me. I'm big on, well, I'm wearing the shirt too. I'm big on the East Coast, but as far as pizza goes, if I were eating carbs right now, I would be a Chicago boy, true and true and true. Chicago, well, the Chicago area has been the closest thing to my adult home ever, and you give me, I want a pizza that's this thick. If I'm going to eat a pizza, this thick, I want that deep dish. So, but, I mean, it would be easy with my opinions to see Domino's as better than New York style, but there again, I'm sure that a lot of the MAGA crowd went out and bought Domino's just because the left said that they wanted to cancel them. Dow Jones stock leaders Apple and Microsoft are approaching record highs. The Dow Jones futures moved up 0.6% versus fair value, while S&P 500 futures gained 0.55%. NASDAQ 100 futures rose 0.8% versus fair value. Remember, overnight action in Dow Jones futures and elsewhere doesn't necessarily translate into actual trading in the next regular stock market session. On Tuesday, the NASDAQ Composite rallied 1.75%. The S&P 500 moved up 1.9%, while the Dow Jones Industrials surged to over 2%. Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell will testify before the House Financial Services Committee on Wednesday. On Tuesday, in its testimony prepared for the Senate Banking Committee, Fed Chief Powell said the Federal Reserve would vary corporate bond buying based on market conditions and that it didn't want to run through the bond market like an elephant. Yeah, we'll just print it instead. We won't borrow it from people, we'll just print it. That'll fix everything. He also commented that economic activity is still far below their pre-pandemic levels. Yeah, we've got a lot of people that are still scared to go out. And it may not even be because of the pandemic anymore. Now they're probably afraid that they'll just go out and get shanked. So we'll look at that. According to a Bloomberg report, the Trump administration is preparing a nearly $1 trillion infrastructure proposal to help the U.S. economy recover from the coronavirus outbreak. The report said a preliminary version being prepared by the Department of Transportation would reserve most of the money for traditional infrastructure work like roads and bridges, but would also set aside funds for 5G wireless infrastructure and rural broadband. I don't know if I want to troll Susan or not. I thought about it. Yeah, I'm not going to do it today. I thought about it, maybe, but no, we won't do it today. Meanwhile, May retail sales rebounded 17.7%, handily surpassing expectations for a 7.5-cent bounce. The figure prompted President Trump to tweet, "Wow, May retail sales show biggest one-month increase of all times, up 17.7%, far bigger than projected. The best retail sales. Looks like a big day for the stock market and for jobs. The best day." Among exchange-traded funds, Innovator IBD 50 gained 1.6% Tuesday. The ETF of top growth stocks is about 10% off its 52-week high. The NASDAQ 100 linked Invesco QQQ Trust ETF moved up 1.7% to close at 242.85. Meanwhile, the SPDR S&P 500 ETF SPY moved up 1.9% to 312.96. Within the coronavirus stock market rally, the tech-heavy NASDAQ is off its record highs, but traded up 10.3% for the year through Tuesday's close. Meanwhile, the S&P 500 and Dow Jones Industrial Average are down 3.3% and 7.9% year-to-date through the June 16th close. Well, that's because, once again, the state governments and every member of Congress that wanted to destroy Trump came out and said, "You dare not go to work. Thou shalt not go to work, and thou shalt not have spending money. Thou shalt let your rent pass." So even now that people are going back to work, they've still got back rent that they got to pay, and they're trying their hardest to pay it. So look for a lot of that. Look for people coming to claim these jobs that people won't claim because they're scared of the virus or the second wave or whatever else, and look for this to continue to tick up. But the big one for me, I saw yesterday that somebody had commented, well, Trump says that retail sales are up 17.7%, but he won't say that they dropped 16.4% during the pandemic. Well, that's because you told people not to go to work. You said they were going to kill grandma if they decided that they wanted to go to work or go out and spend money. So keep all of that in mind. And yes, considering past projections, I want to call it a win. For right now, at least. All right, let's keep moving on. I like Scott Latonin when he writes for IBD. He's really technical, and we get to see a lot of kind of the inner workings of what's everything. I mean, the other guys, Alan Elliott and what's the other one? It's not. I can't think of the other guy's name, but I mean, I can definitely tell who's writing and who isn't on the Investor's Business Daily. I've been reading their articles for long enough. I get to know how they write in their writing style. But let's see what CNBC has to say. Dow futures jump 180 points as Wall Street tries for a 4-day winning streak. This is from Fred Imbert and Maggie Fitzgerald. U.S. stock futures suggested the market would continue to move higher on Wednesday, following a big rally from the previous session that was fueled by a growing belief that the worst may be over for the world's largest economy. Dow Jones Industrial Average rose 188 points or 0.7%. S&P 500 futures were up 0.6%, while Nasdaq 100 futures traded 0.5% higher. The indicated gains will lead the major averages to a 4-day winning streak. Amazon and Apple each rose 0.9% in the pre-market, while Netflix climbed 0.7%. IBM and 3M were both up more than 1% and were among the best performing Dow components in early trading. U.S. equities rallied on Tuesday, helped by a bevy of bullish news, including a historic jump in retail sales. The U.S. government reported a record 17.7% increase in retail sales for May. Stocks were also helped by a Bloomberg News report that Trump administration is preparing a near $1 trillion infrastructure bill. Positive trial results showed dexamethasone, a widely available drug, can help critically ill coronavirus patients, which also boosted equities. The treatment reportedly reduced COVID-19 deaths in hospitalized patients by up to 1/3. Oh, that's interesting. I wonder when the mainstream media is going to come out and say dexamethasone, or however the hell you pronounce it, instantly kills you the second that you take it, especially if you're elderly, and nobody should ever take it, because now this is going to be the next thing that they tout. Something that we've been using for years and decades upon this point, and is widely available, now suddenly instantly kills you the second you put it in your mouth. It is quicker than cyanide, is the next thing that we're going to hear out of this. It's hard to keep a well-supported stock market down, Jim Paulson, chief investment strategist at the Leuthold Group, told CNBC, against a backdrop of widespread caution after a swift 7% decline in the recent days. The stock market was simultaneously bombarded by major pillars of support. So, and this was from 14 hours ago, so this was from very shortly after the market closed. So, I mean, CNBC is pretty impressed by everything here. All right, we're going to move along. We're going to check out a couple of videos here. I want to move this before we go. Just a couple of videos, just kind of based on what I was saying from the beginning, or from the inside title of this. So, now we're looking at this, and the title, of course, suggests the fact that dehumanizing people is a big part of the problem here. Now, the woman that we're about to see is getting ripped up and down for being an officer Karen based on the way that she treated McDonald's. But, I mean, I can honestly understand, especially after what we heard out of Shake Shack yesterday, and every cop right now has got to be on edge if he's going to go out and try and eat out at some point. I mean, with everything that we've seen in the news for the last 2 weeks, and just the sentiment that we've been hearing from the Black Lives Matter movement for the last 3 years, it's never been easy to be a cop, but it's got to be especially hard here. And yes, I understand the fact that they're enforcing laws that a lot of people deem unconstitutional. I understand that, and we do need to get to the root of this, but these are still people. These are still humans, and we have to take care to get our message across, get our agenda across, and yet still not dehumanize these people to the point where a lot of people will think it's okay to go out and start massacring them, and I think we're getting to that point. But let's listen to what this woman has to say. Whoops, dropped my pen.
I decided to come to the McDonald's at Love's on the Ford Avenue exit, and I waited in line to get my food. I had already done my mobile order so that, people don't pay for my stuff, because I just always like to pay for it myself. But I'm on my way home from work. When I pull up to the window, they hand me my receipt, so I go to the second window to get my food, and I'm waiting, and I'm waiting, and I'm waiting. And so the girl comes to the window and asks me what my order was. I repeat my order and my coffee order, and they asked me to pull up because my food's not ready. It's an English muffin meal with a hash brown and coffee. And I mean, I hadn't eaten since I've been up for a very long time, but I haven't eaten in a while, so I was kind of hungry. And I'm still waiting, and I'm still waiting, and they asked me to pull up. So I pull up forward, and a girl comes out with my coffee, and just the coffee, and she hands it to me, and I have my window down, and that's all she hands me is the coffee. So I told her, I said, don't bother with the food because right now I'm too nervous to take it. It doesn't matter how many hours I've been up. It doesn't matter what I've done for anyone. Right now I'm too nervous to take a meal from McDonald's because I can't see it being made. I don't know what's going on with people nowadays, but please, just give us a break. Please just give us a break. I don't know how much more I can take. I've been in this for 15 years, and I've never, ever had such anxiety about waiting for McDonald's drive-thru food. So just have a heart, and if you see an officer, just tell them thank you. Because I don't hear thank you enough anymore. All I want is just my...
And the video cuts off there. I mean, she was saying some other stuff along with that. And I'm going to leave the headphones on because I got one more video to come up after this here to talk about humanizing versus dehumanizing. But, I mean, on this, I guess if it was me too, I would at that point probably be nervous. I missed this the first time I watched the video, but she had pointed out that she made the mobile order because she didn't want people to pay it forward at the line for thanking her. She wanted to pay for it herself, which is an admirable quality. I know some of the power trip cops will come out and say, well, I deserve a tribute, so these people should be expecting to pay for me. No, she just wanted to be like that. But the other side of that is, of course, that there was no indicator, most likely, on the order that she did. I haven't seen the mobile order, so I can't confirm this, but there was likely no indicator on the mobile order that she had indicated that she was a cop. So she gets up through the line. They see that she's, well, in her mind, I don't know what happened. I honestly have no idea what happened with this. But in her mind, I can probably see where the suspicion comes from. She gets up there. She ordered ahead, so she probably ordered before she got to the McDonald's. She goes through the line. They see that she's a police officer. And suddenly now it's taking forever for them to get what should be a relatively simple meal. Yeah, I would be suspicious as hell too. I would be suspicious that they're in there remaking my meal, especially after what we saw from Steak Shack. And once again, or Shake Shack, or whatever the hell it was out of New York. And once again, it is the fact that the media at this point, the police in the media are a pawn for whatever political agenda that they want to be. If they're union workers, they're public sector workers, then when public sector rights or collective bargaining rights come up for question, it's, well, you don't respect the police because you want them to not be able to strike and to be underpaid. But yeah, as soon as we have Black Lives Matter come into the equation and we're trying to equate it back to race, there are these faceless foot soldiers of evil. And this is just a woman who wanted to serve her community. She's following orders, which once again, we start from the top as far as the laws go and get rid of some of the unconstitutional laws that people like this are forced to enforce because they chose to go down this path and down this field. And the media has made a woman like this faceless. So, I mean, these people probably think they're going to get brownie points if they do something to make a cop sick or take her off the street. Or, God forbid, I don't think some of these people have the heart to do it, but God forbid if they kill the poor woman. So, I rightly would be suspicious in this situation just as much as she was. I rightly would, absolutely. And it's just a matter of the optics that have come out of this. All right, next one here, going along the same vein of people being dehumanized that were once very big in humanities. And I think I already kind of gave everything away, but we're still going to watch this video. This is a Domino's ad from, I believe I remember this one. It's from the early 2000s. And remember, it wasn't that long ago that Donald Trump was a revered media figure and everybody still loved the guy. I mean, like I said, I pointed out at one point that I just watched the Top Gear where they sold exotic cars to Donald Trump and he was portrayed as a business magnate, a great guy, and the media loved the guy at the time. I mean, they liked to make fun of him for his comb over and everything else and some of the games out, but I mean, it wasn't a Hitler incarnate thing like it is now. So, and this goes along the same lines as what we saw with Kayleigh McEnany from 8 years ago as well. So let's see what this one says.
Man, this 555 deal's really popular. Mr. Trump, here you go. 3 medium pizzas, $5 each.
Tell you what, I'll counter that offer with an even better one. Here's the deal. You give me those 3 pizzas, only I'll give you just $5 apiece.
Sure. Okay.
Still got it, Donald. Still got it.
Call now and get 3 or more medium one-topping pizzas for just $5.
Yeah, that's how the media used to see Donald Trump way back in the day. That's how they used to see him. That's how they used to enjoy him. I mean, he was a big star. Everybody loved the guy up until he came down that escalator there. So I think Domino's is going to get a boost off the MAGA crowd because, I mean, there are people there that think that the president and anyone in his administration can do no wrong. And, I mean, they're trying to cancel this company because they complimented Kayleigh McEnany 8 years ago and they put an ad with Donald Trump in it. And Trump's fan base, as big or as small as they are, and I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but they are loyal. They are definitely above everything else. They are loyal. So maybe we'll see a boon out of Domino's. Who knows? I think this might have backfired over everyone who tried to get Domino's canceled, but we got to keep going here. So we've got one out of Florida here from WFLA out of Tampa. Judd, 17 arrested for child pornography, include Disney employees, nurse, underwear ingester. What is an underwear ingester? I'm scared. All right, let's see what we've got here. Polk County, Florida, which is a shame because this is the same county where the sheriff said, my constituents will blow you out of their houses. But let's read on. Polk County Sheriff Grady Judd detailed the arrest of charges of 17 suspects, including Disney and hospital employees, accused of downloading or distributing child pornography featuring children as young as a few months old. What the fuck is wrong with people? What the hell is wrong with people? A few months. My God. These folks are deviants, Judd said. The sheriff went on to detail a number of the arrests, most notably 2 Disney World employees, a nurse, an undocumented immigrant, and a 49-year-old Winter Haven man, an IT specialist, Judd said, liked to purchase and digest soiled underwear. I just read those words out loud. Oh my God. Those are words that should never be read aloud in that order. You can watch the press conference of the video or in the video player above. The takedown, dubbed Operation Guardians of Innocence 5, resulted in a total of over 1,400 felonies filed against 17 suspects. Deputies say the child pornography included thousands of photos and videos depicting babies, toddlers, and children being forced to engage in sex acts. Among the notable arrests were 2 Walt Disney World employees. Judd said a search warrant was executed in Davenport, Florida, at a home shared by 32-year-old Justin Hazen and 36-year-old Arlandris Sims. Hazen reportedly told detectives he works at the Hollywood studios as an operator on the Millennium Falcon ride. He reportedly admitted to downloading and possessing child pornography. He was charged with 15 counts. I bet you he doesn't work on that ride anymore. Hazen's roommate, Sims, also works at Disney as a food runner at the Animal Kingdom Resort. He was also arrested and charged with 25 counts of child pornography. When we went to the house, we went after Arlandris Sims, Judd said. We also found out that his roommate from Disney, Justin Hazen, also was looking at child porn. Detectives didn't know that, so during an investigation, our detectives found it kind of humorous. Arlandris actually said, "You're doing it too?" I can't read this anymore. Well, faith in humanity's gone again. Bye. Purchase and digest soiled underwear. It's a victimless hobby, but man, oh man, there's still something just seriously wrong. Wow. All right, let's look at the executive order here. I think This actually may be one of the keys to the White House at this point, because you have to remember, no matter what they try to paint on Trump, he's got the advertising here at this point. Because Biden did the tough on crime bill, and Trump just signed this. President Trump on Tuesday signed an executive order on law enforcement reform titled Safe Policing for Safe Communities after weeks of protests following the death of George Floyd. Read the order released by the White House below. By the authority vested in me as President by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, it is hereby ordered as followed. And I've read through this fairly, let me rephrase it, I've skimmed over this at this point. I have skimmed over this at some point. The document is in the Discord if you guys want to go and have a look at it. One of the big things that came out of this, though, was a ban on chokeholds that were coming out of the executive order. Now, I don't agree with doing this by executive order. This does need to be done at a local level, because this is not interstate commerce or national defense. I do understand that, and I say this, but I mean, this, in spite of my objections to the methodology of this, this is a big win for the Trump campaign coming up for 2020. Because we've got the guy who did the tough on crime bill that is responsible for the incarceration and the enforcement of many of the victims of what's happened over the last 3 weeks. One of the men who was responsible for a lot of the laws that were being violated when these people were held down, killed, or otherwise injured by the police. And now we've got somebody who's coming in and trying to take a stand to ban some of these practices that have made it possible for officers to go and kill or injure or maim some of these suspects without repercussions. So I don't agree with this coming down from the executive branch of the federal government, but on the other end of this, this could be one of the things that guarantees the re-election of Donald Trump. So once again, article is in the Discord. Go ahead and have a look at it. I'm not going to read it in full at this point, more than what I've skimmed over at this point. But yeah, it's an interesting EO, and I do look forward to reading it a little bit closer. So McKennedy had to weigh in almost immediately. This is also from Fox News. McKennedy defends Trump police order after Biden-Pelosi criticism, says they had 8 years to make changes. This is from Charles Kreitz. White House Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany responded Tuesday to critics of President Trump's executive order on police reform, singling out former Vice President Joe Biden and House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. There's been one action taken on this, and who has taken that action? President Trump with this executive order, McEnany told Bill Hemmer Reports. President Obama and Vice President Biden had 8 years to make changes, she added. It took President Trump, much like it took President Trump on criminal justice reform. Yes, let's not forget the fact that he did that too. He and Kim Kardashian came together with Congress to do a criminal justice reform bill on top of everything else. Trump's order establishes a database that tracks police officers with excessive use of force complaints in their records and gives police departments a financial incentive to adopt the best practices and encourage co-responder programs in which social workers join officers when they respond to nonviolent calls involving mental health, addiction, and homeless issues. Host Bill Hemmer asked McEnany about a tweet posted by Biden Monday in which the former vice president said, "Race-neutral policies are not a sufficient response to a race-based disparities. We need to tackle systemic racism head-on and ensure everyone has a fair shot at the American dream." What was addressed was the use of force, McEnany said when Hemmer asked her to respond to Biden's tweet. "We want all Americans to be handled in an equal, fair manner by law enforcement. Equal protection under the law. Absolutely." The president made very clear that we're all made in the image of God and there should be no racism in our policing system, our economic system, nor our schooling system. He has made that clear. Pelosi, for her part, described Trump's executive order weak and said it will not properly quell the epidemic of racial injustice and police brutality that is murdering hundreds of black Americans. Well, Mrs. Pelosi, you're a legislature. Not only that, you're the Speaker of the House. So get your little minions up there in a row and try and have them put out a better bill if you think that this is weak. But the only person who's taking an action right now is the evil orange man that you guys love to hate. So yeah, keep that in mind. All right, let's keep going down the road here. Work transformed. Get tips and tricks for navigating a work from home lifestyle. From CNN Business. Absolutely objective and absolutely has your best interest in heart. French that. The Aunt Jemima brand, acknowledging its racist past, will be retired. No more Aunt Jemima syrup. So, I do still have that under my desk. I was eating waffles under my before I went low carb. I was eating some waffles, and I just, because Aunt Jemima syrup doesn't really need to be refrigerated. A lot of people still do anyway. And when I did the big cleanup before I did my vacation, that was the one thing that I forgot to do, was pick this up and put it back up into the cabinet. So this might be a collector's item at this point, but I do have right here one of the last bottles of Aunt Jemima. This is not a paid promotion or any sort of paid sponsorship for the Aunt Jemima brand. Aunt Jemima is not paying this program, but they probably should, because everybody should be paying this program. This is from Jordan Valinsky over at CNN Business. Quaker Oats is retiring the more than 130-year-old Aunt Jemima brand and logo, acknowledging its origins are based on a racial stereotype. As we work to make progress towards racial equality through several initiatives, we also must take a hard look at our portfolio of brands and ensure that they reflect our values and meet our consumer expectations, the company said in a statement first obtained by NBC News. Aunt Jemima's appearance has evolved over time. The brand's origin and logo are based off the song Old Aunt Jemima from a minstrel show performer and reportedly sung by slaves. The company's website said the logo started in 1980 and was based on Nancy Green, a storyteller, cook, and missionary worker. However, the website fails to mention Green was born into slavery. Okay, she was born into it, she was freed from it, and she made the most out of her life afterwards, being a storyteller, a cook, and a missionary. At this point, you're not taking the brand out of this, and you're not taking the slavery out of this. You're just showing black Americans once more that they can never escape from slavery, and if they're black, that means that it's slavery for the rest of their lives. Aunt Jemima, Nancy Green, overcame all the adversity and went on to have a very successful career and, of course, became famous on syrup. She overcame adversity, and all you're doing at this point is saying, no, you shall not overcome adversity. You will be a slave to the system forever because your ancestors were slaved. So, yeah, this is probably not the best move, but my next question, of course, on this, because we're getting rid of Aunt Jemima, is Uncle Ben next? I mean, are we going to stop seeing Uncle Ben's rights? Is Rights-A-Roni going to rise to the top of the rice empire because Uncle Ben can no longer be used as a brand name? Where does this end? Not to mention the horrible optics of all of this, but where does this end? All right, let's keep going. All right. This actually came to me. I ran across this morning while I was looking through Instagram here. But apparently there was another active shooter situation down in Texas. Sheriff's Office to lead OIS investigation following Paso Robles active shooter incident. The FBI and DA's office will assist. With an article that will not load. The San Luis Obispo County Sheriff will lead the investigation into last week's officer-involved shooting that left 3 officers injured Thursday and a shooting suspect dead. I don't think it's the article that I was looking for. The FBI and San Luis Obispo County District Attorney's Office will assist, because multiple agencies were involved in the 36-hour-long incident that prompted the lockdown. Yeah, this isn't the article I was looking for. I will leave a note of that, and we will look back into that, because, no, there was an active shooter in Texas that I read about this morning, and I just did a quick Google search, and apparently I found the wrong kind of article. All right, false alarm. Let's keep moving along. Nothing to see here, guys. All right. From Fox News again, man accused of shoving elderly New York City woman has been arrested over 100 times. This is from Reuben Fenton, Larry Salonia, and Craig McCarthy at Fox News via the New York Post. A career criminal with more than 100 arrests to his name was busted for cruelly shoving a 92-year-old woman into a Manhattan fire hydrant, leaving his victim too scared to walk alone in her own neighborhood. The injured elder, a Bronx native named Geraldine, spoke to the Post on Tuesday after cops arrested convicted sex offender Rashid Brimage, 31, and charged him with attacking her. I thought a brick hit me or something, hit me on the left side of my head, and I went right down and hit my head against the hydrant. Geraldine, who asked that her last name be withheld for safety reasons, said of the attack, blood was coming out, not spurting blood, but blood was dripping. Geraldine, who's lived in Manhattan for more than 50 years, was on her way to Duane Reade when Brimage allegedly shoved her to the ground near 3rd Avenue and East 16th Street in Gramercy Park at about 3:30 p.m. on Friday. She slammed against the fire hydrant and lay on the ground until a passerby called 911, and medics rushed her to nearby Beth Israel Hospital. The former teacher, who never married but is dating an 89-year-old lawyer, said her physical wounds were relatively minor and have since healed, but the mental toll has been much more severe. Mostly I'm shaken. My head still hurts when it's bleeding, where I hit the hydrant or where he hit me, I don't know. Mainly it's psychological, just the fear of going out in the streets, she added. This damn guy put me in a state where I'm fearful to walk in the streets alone, so my super's trying to find someone who will walk with me to a park nearby or to the supermarket, that kind of thing. So that's the problem. Brimage was busted by cops Tuesday and charged with assault after investigators recognized him from the video footage of the attack, authorities said. Now, the video isn't in this particular article, but I saw the video, and this was just no chill. Nothing prompted it, anything else out of this. Well, maybe she gave him the bird or something when she was off camera, but for the most part, he just kind of calmly walked up and out of nowhere and kept walking. So, what a dick. What a dick. And this is proper use of policing, getting this guy up and off the street, because, that's just a dick move. Guy's an ass. He needs to face some sort of justice for what he did, especially against a 92-year-old woman. Come on, dude. Be human. Alright, let's keep going. From the Daily Wire, owner of store bordering Chaz says he called 911 numerous times while mob showed up, says police never came. This is from Hank Berrien. According to various reports, an auto shop owner whose store was just outside the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone called 911 multiple times on Sunday night after a protester allegedly got in the store, stole cash, and lit a counter on fire, but police and the fire department never showed up, even though a mob broke down fences guarding the store and demanded that the owner release the suspect. The owner of Car Tender, John McDermott, told Kiro News that he received a call after the suspect shattered a window, then set fire to the front counter. McDermott said the suspect poured hand sanitizer on a cassette tape, yanked the film out, poured hand sanitizer on that, then lit everything on fire. He added that he and his son Mason put out the fire before Mason pursued the suspect. Yeah, I chased him down, and as soon as I came face to face, he came at me, so I put him on the ground, said Mason McDermott, adding that he pinned the suspect while his father dialed 911 a total of 19 times. Mason McDermott said the suspect sliced McDermott's jeans with a box cutter. Other protesters soon arrived, and video on social media shows the mob eventually knocking over a section of fencing, running in to confront the owners and angrily demanding the return of the original suspect, the New York Post reported. John McDermott said he was heartbroken when they finally said that they weren't going to send somebody. They are the cavalry, he said in a release. He said he released the suspect to avoid mayhem beyond mayhem, while his son drew a gun for protection. And this is what we need to do, honestly. Your first line of defense is yourself, and I bet you this story right here sells another 100 guns, maybe 1,000 guns throughout the world, because the cops are not going to help, especially in this situation. And average police response time, I even looked at this, because I did call the cops once when I lived over in the ghetto in Kenosha. And where I lived, pretty much you went under the trellis for the train station, went down a block, and you were at the police station from where I lived. So, we're talking within 1,000 feet the police station was for me. And when I did call, because the woman was screaming racial slurs out her door, this massive white woman was standing at her front door screaming racial slurs for so long I thought she was going to pass out for being out of breath. I called the police just to try and calm the situation because, I mean, when the kids hear these racial slurs, they're gonna think that they are the racial slur. That's the end of it. So we don't need to have that being screamed out in front, and there were kids around. So I called the police. For 1,000 feet for them to get there, it took almost 20 minutes for somebody to respond. So yes, you are your own first line of defense at any time. Yeah. Especially when you're sitting in a very, very active situation like what's in the Chaz. And I never anticipate there to be an active situation like that where I live now, because it's a small enough town that I'm not going to tell you what it is. It's a small enough town for that, so I don't anticipate anything like that ever happening around here. But once again, you are always your first line of defense. Before anything else, you need to always depend on yourself. And a lot of these kids will back down when they see a gun, even if they do have the advantage of numbers. I'm not even going to try and give the benefit of the doubt to the police station, because yes, I do understand that they had a bunch going on, but still, come on. Alright, let's keep going. We still got a bunch to get to here. Second suspect in Atlanta Wendy's arson scene in newly released photos. This is from Nick Givas over at Fox News. Yeah, this was a Fox-heavy episode. I apologize. Atlanta officials released photographs on Tuesday of a second suspect in their arson investigation at a Wendy's, which was burned down following the death of 27-year-old Rayshard Brooks. Images of two arson suspects, both white females, were shared during a press conference at a fire station on Manford Road, according to Fox 5. Previous pictures reportedly showed one suspect wearing black clothing and a facial covering. The new photos show another woman without a mask wearing a black top with a purple shirt wrapped around her waist and neckline. Reporter Portia Brunner of Fox 5 tweeted the images following their release and said the authorities would soon be giving additional updates. The Atlanta Fire Department said the fire was started in multiple locations using multiple incendiary methods and devices. Officials believe there were at least 10 attempts to ignite the restaurant, Fox 5 reported. The restaurant, which is in the southwest part of the city, was the site where Brooks was shot dead by police on Friday. Officers were responding to a call about a man asleep behind the wheel of his car near the drive-thru. Body cam and dash cam footage showed the now former officer Garrett Rolfe and officer Devin Brosnan speaking to Brooks for nearly 30 minutes on suspicion of DUI. His blood alcohol level registered as 0.108. The legal limit is 0.08. Except for me, it's 0.04. Sully, you know about that. I'm sure you do. Alright, so, yeah, that's... We're sorry that this happened for you. We're sorry that this is happening to the communities of color. Let us virtuous white people be your saviors and burn down a fucking Wendy's, putting a dozen people out of work in our own neighborhood to show how virtuous you are. I have to wonder if these people were actually from the neighborhood too. That's because we do seem to see on a lot of these situations people coming in from out of the neighborhood to cause the trouble. That would be the most interesting part of the story, would be to see whether these are women from the area or whether they are from outside of the area, coming in from outside to sow chaos and be virtuous. But yeah, I bet you there's going to be some questioning up here in the later weeks, and we are not going to hear about it for very much longer. Alright, let's keep going here from ABC. Feds arrest man for alleged role in fire at Minneapolis Police Department precinct. Speaking of people being arrested for fires. This is from Morgan Windsor. A man has been arrested and charged for his alleged role in setting fire to the Minneapolis Police Department's 3rd Precinct amid citywide protests over the death of George Floyd. Dylan Shakespeare Robinson, 22, of Brainerd, Minnesota, was located by federal investigators in the Denver area on June 12th and was captured 2 days later in Breckenridge, Colorado. The U.S. Attorney for the District of Minnesota announced Tuesday a federal criminal complaint against Robinson, charging him with aiding and abetting arson. And that's arson of a public building, too, on top of that here, so keep this in mind. Yes, taxation is theft, but, I mean, you can't give the taxation back to the people. It's already been spent to make the police department, rather, so on top of this, he stole from the people, direct or indirectly, of the city of Minneapolis on top of it. So, yeah, that's... Some of the victimless crimes yes, I do understand them not going out and getting arrested for smoking a joint, having a little heroin on you where you're the only victim, stuff like that. That's different than going out and burning down a police precinct that was paid for by the taxpayer and is public property. That is a federal crime, and I'm looking forward to seeing where this ends. This is a legitimate use of police. Some of the other stuff that we're seeing is not. On the night of May 28th, 3 days after Floyd died in police custody, the Minneapolis Police Department's 3rd Precinct was overrun and heavily damaged from vandalism and arson. The building, which police had abandoned, went up in flames after a group of protesters pushed through barriers and smashed windows. Authorities subsequently determined that the multiple separate fires had been started inside the building, according to the complaint. So yeah, and the guy knew that he did something wrong, and he was on the run, of course, from it. I wonder if he actually anticipated that he was going to get caught, because he did only get as far as Colorado. I would have probably kept going after that, but he did get a fair decent. I guess Colorado is a fair distance, but yeah, they got him and they're bringing him back, so let him go. All right, let's keep going here. From CBS News, Thomas Jefferson statue toppled in Portland, Oregon. This one actually came to me over on the Discord here. It was one of the new guys that came in from Jessica Green's show. I'm gonna get the right citation here. Medieval Mike, one of the new guys that came in from Monday's show, gave me a Tim Pool video of this, and I brought this up into the CBS News version of it, so thank you to Medieval Mike for that. No author given. A statue of Thomas Jefferson outside a high school named for him in North Portland, Oregon was toppled Sunday after a night of protests, reports CBS Portland, Oregon affiliate Coin TV. It was the latest to be vandalized or pulled over in the U.S. and other nations during racial justice protests that have followed the death of George Floyd at Minneapolis police hands 3 weeks ago. Statues of leading Confederate figures, as well as slave owners and slave traders, have been targeted by demonstrators and, in some cases, removed by state and state governments. I mean, these guys are going way far over this, trying to just whitewash history. Oh, you owned a slave? That means that we need to take your statue down. We're not allowed to acknowledge you for history because 1619 Project! 1619, 1619! Woo! Meanwhile, these people came over from England, toppled the monarchy, toppled one of the biggest and most well-trained armies at the time. Sorry, a little tickle in my throat there. And took their own land back away from these people. They fought a revolution. They fought the biggest army at the time and won. Giving the English system of jurisprudence a new twist and making all people equal under the eyes of the law. As hard as the government has tried to make that not a fact anymore, the fact still remains that in the beginning, we were all equal under the eyes of the law, based on the system that these people brought forward. And they did put workarounds in the Constitution so we could eventually end slavery as well. But no, they once owned a slave, so they must be terribly looked at through history for the rest of time. And not even giving us a chance to go back and look and learn from our history. Yes, we understand now that slavery is wrong. Enslaving another human being is wrong, but yeah, because these people once owned a slave, then they will be tarnished forever, and we need to take all of their statues down. Never mind everything that they did good for the sake of society, for the sake of humanity. I mean, these people want to take the Washington Monument down. The Washington Monument, of all things, which I'm pretty sure that somebody else is going to get hurt if they try to do that, but yeah, they want to topple that monument or rename it the Obelisk of Freedom or something else. Obelisk of Wokeness, I think, is what Shapiro said yesterday, which, as Shapiro did say, I think would be an epic name for a metal band. Obelisk of Wokeness! But no, we've got a lot of history in this country, and these people did more good than bad, I'm pretty sure at this point. Let's keep going. We've got 3 in a row from the Daily Wire, so strap yourselves in. Alright, come on. I don't want to see what's going on right now on the Daily Wire. NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell, I want Colin Kaepernick to help us, guide us on social issues. Sorry, Aaron Rodgers, we're done at this point. And it's not you, it's your boss. Well, your boss's boss, let me say that. If this actually happens, we're done. I can't do it anymore. I'll watch fucking ballet. before I watch football if this goes through. NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell said during an interview on Tuesday that he wants a team to sign former NFL quarterback Colin Kaepernick, and that if Kaepernick does not make it back on the field, then he's invited to the table to help and guide the NFL on social issues. Well, listen, if he wants to resume his career in the NFL, then obviously it's going to take the team to make that decision, Goodell said during an interview with ESPN. But I welcome that, support a club making that decision, and encourage them to do that. If his efforts are not on the field, but continuing to work in this space, we welcome him to that table and to help us, guide us, and help us make better decisions about the kinds of things that need to be done with the communities, Goodell continued. We have invited him in before, and we want to make sure that everyone's welcome at the table and trying to help us deal with some very complex, difficult issues that have been around for a very long time. Goodell added, but I hope we're at a point now where everybody's committed to making long-term sustainable change. Kaepernick has been widely criticized for some of his actions, including kneeling during the national anthem, donating money to groups honoring convicted cop killer and wanted terrorist Assata Shakur, wearing socks portraying police officers as pig, wearing shirts of brutal Cuban dictator Fidel Castro. He's also been widely criticized for not being able to complete a fucking pass in clinch moments during a game and having to sit out on the bench. Kaepernick has also claimed that the United States has conducted American terrorist attacks against black and brown people for the expansion of American imperialism. That remark was featured in a tweet from Kaepernick and came after U.S. forces killed Qasem Soleimani, the head of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, Quds Force, which is a designated terrorist organization. The NFL arranged this workout opportunity. In November, the NFL organized a private workout for Kaepernick in Atlanta in an apparent attempt to help him secure a spot in the league. And he still sucked, which is why he's not playing on the field right now. And I bring this up every day, and it holds true every day. Aaron Hernandez killed a man and continued playing. If Kaepernick was good, he would still be on the field. The NFL arranged this workout opportunity for Kaepernick, and teams will have the opportunity to evaluate his readiness and level of interest in resuming his NFL career. ESPN's Adam Schefter tweeted at the time, his agents have said he wants to return to the NFL and the league hopes to provide this chance. Now, see, what was there was they offered him a chance. Kaepernick changed the terms at the last minute to make sure that his publicity officer was out there to make sure that everybody knew that he was out on the field and nobody was going to sign him. I'm pretty sure that he knew that he sucked at that point, but that he wants to be able to play the race card once again and say, oh, I'm so oppressed. I grew up in a wealthy, affluent area of Milwaukee County. It wasn't even city of Milwaukee, by the way. I grew up in an affluent area of Milwaukee County, and I'm so oppressed. So, yeah. Kaepernick sucks. And yeah, unfortunately, I'm going to have to find something else to do in November, because if this is true, then there is no way in hell I'm giving any more of my money or any more of my view time to the NFL. Which sucks, because I really enjoy the NFL, but they don't need my money any more than Walmart does at this point. And any more than Burger King. Alright, let's keep going with Daily Wire here. Rock the Vote once again reveals the absurdity of its nonpartisan status. This is from Christian Toto. You see that? Read members only content for 99 cents. Fuck you, Shapiro. I'm not buying a reader's pass from you. Alright, next one. Let's see if I can read this one. Oh, I can read this one. Alright. Warren said high-dollar fundraisers would rip this democracy apart. She just had a $6 million fundraiser for Biden. From Ryan Saavedra. Senator Elizabeth Warren held a $6 million fundraiser for presumptive Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden this week, despite having denounced high-dollar fundraisers during her failed presidential campaign. Oh, I have to pretend to be grassroots when I run for the president. I still want your money. But my pappy says that we're Indian now, so I have to pretend that I don't want your money and that I'm going to denounce you. But just keep those checks coming in. We'll run them through something else to make this happen. In comments denouncing the high-dollar fundraisers, Warren told reporters during a campaign stop in February that we are tearing this democracy apart. She talked in early states like Iowa and New Hampshire about her disdain for the typical fundraising practices used by most candidates. She was often rewarded with thunderous applause, but not enough votes. The Washington Post notes she talked about it on the debate stage where she zinged other candidates for raising cash in fancy settings, like California Wine Cave. She talked about it in friendly interviews with anchors like MSNBC's Rachel Maddow. Despite the high-minded rhetoric, Warren held a $6 million virtual fundraiser for Biden on Monday night that featured more than 600 attendees. Joe Biden has a heart for people, Warren said, and at a time when Donald Trump's agenda is more cruel and more heartless by the day, we need a man at the White House who has spent his entire life fighting for the people. Crime bill. We need steady and competent leadership. We need Joe Biden to be the next president of the United States to heal this nation and to save our democracy. The New York Times and ABC News have both reported in recent days that Warren has emerged as a top-tier contender under consideration by the Biden campaign to be his running mate. The Washington Post also highlights... If you want your campaign just to commit Clinton's side at this point, you might as well. It's done anyway. Just take the cyanide pill, name Warren as your running mate, and be a Mondale. Alright, I'm done with this one here, but this woman. What else do we say about this woman? She just wants to be in that VP spot so she can be there when Biden topples over because she thinks that he can win. We need to take down Trump, no matter what. I think you called me a liar on national TV. All right. I've got another one here that actually came to my attention from Magdalene Rose over on Twitter. Young, I think she's millennial. I don't think she's Gen Z, but a very young person, very active in politics, and is probably going somewhere in the sphere. Let's see what we've got here from the Deccan Chronicle. 20 Indian soldiers martyred in Galwan Valley clash with China. So this came to me because she asked the question if anybody that doesn't have Kek in their profile can explain to her what's going on in the Galwan Valley. So let's see what's actually going on. The incident happened at Patrolling Unit Point 14 in Galwan Valley, which comes under the 16 Bihar Regiment of the Indian Army. In a massive escalation between India and China, at least 20 Indian Army soldiers, including a colonel, have been martyred in a violent clash on Monday night with Chinese troops at the Galwan Valley in the Ladakh sector. Initially, the Indian Army confirmed only 3 casualties. However, in a statement issued late Tuesday, it added that 17 soldiers later succumbed to critical injuries and the sub-zero temperatures. According to the official sources, an unknown number of Indian soldiers, including officers, who were reportedly in the captivity of the Chinese army, were released after a high-level meeting between the two sides. The two sides used batons, iron rods, and stones to attack each other, with the Chinese army too suffering casualties. However, Chinese government did not release its casualty figures. This is for the first time in 45 years that the Indian soldiers Okay, I lost my place there because everything moved. Sorry about that. This is for the first time in 45 years that Indian soldiers have been killed at the line of actual control, with last such incident recorded in 1975 when 4 soldiers from the Assam Rifles were ambushed in Arunachal Pradesh. The incident happening at Patrolling Point 14 in Galwan Valley, which comes under the 16 Bihar Regiment of the Indian Army. As per initial reports, Indian troops were there to see disengagement from the area by the Chinese army when they were suddenly attacked by PLA soldiers. Soon, backup patrols from both sides also joined. The clash between the two armies, which included hundreds of soldiers from both sides, went on in the mountain area until midnight, said sources. Colonel Santosh Babu, commanding officer of the 16th Bihar Regiment, was killed during the clash. Indian Army said that there was no firing happening during the clash. Major generals from both armies met on Tuesday morning on the issue. So it looks like, once again, we are going to go over this. There's that little stretch of Indian territory that's disputed as to where the border is. Some people think it's further on the Indian side. Some people think it's further on the Chinese side. And it's been disputed for a number of years. We've talked about this area before. So once again, they're just kind of going back and forth and nipping at each other, deciding where this border is going to be. And nobody can make an agreement on it. So we're just going to keep the army in. China, like I keep saying, is out there swinging their tiny little dick at everybody because they think that they're big and bad right now because the U.S. is suffering from a little bit of an economic meltdown and other things that are going on. And they can't run in to defend their allies so readily, apparently. All right. I got a couple more here, and then we'll do something I'm thankful for. Eleanor Carroll Lavelle Barr, wife of Kentucky Republican, dead at 39. This is from Joe Tacopino, over once again by the New York Post. The wife of Kentucky Congressman Andy Barr died suddenly Tuesday night, reports said. Eleanor Carroll Lavelle Barr, who went by Carroll, died at the family's home in Lexington for unspecified reasons, according to the Lexington Herald-Leader. She was 39 years old. Congressman Barr's wife passed away suddenly tonight at the family home in Lexington, read a statement from Barr's chief of staff, Mary Rosado. During this tragic time, we respectfully asked for privacy for Congressman Barr and his family to grieve Mrs. Barr being called home to heaven. She added Congressman Barr may release a more detailed statement at a later date, but right now is solely focused on being father to his two beautiful daughters. Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear said he and his wife were heartbroken for U.S. Rep. Andy Barr and his family tonight at the sad news of the unexpected passing of the congressman's wife, Carol. Eleanor was the director of the Henry Clay Institute for Statesmanship in Lexington. Andy Barr, a Republican, has represented Kentucky's 6th congressional district since 2013. The couple had been married for 10 years. So our hearts go out to Congressman Barr, and I hope he can grieve in time. I hope he can find peace in what happened, and we do apologize over here at the Freedom Scoop Media Group for the fact that he had to go through this passing. All right, let's keep going here. Last one. This is the one I tried to read yesterday, but it wouldn't load. From CNN, there could be 36 communicating intelligent civilizations in our galaxy, study says. This is from Ashley Strickland. Earth has proven unique in its ability to host life in the universe so far, leading us to question if we're truly alone. Maybe we're not. Scientists have calculated that there could be a minimum of 36 active, communicating, intelligent civilizations in our galaxy, according to a new study. However, due to time and distance, we may never actually know if they exist or ever existed. The study, published Monday in the Astrophysical Journal, previous calculations along these lines have been based on the Drake equation, which was written by astronomer and astrophysicist Frank Drake in 1961. Drake developed an equation in which principle can be used to calculate how many communicating extraterrestrial intelligent civilizations there may be in the galaxy. The authors wrote in their study, however, many of its terms are unknowable and other methods must be used to calculate the likely number of communicating civilizations. So scientists at the University of Nottingham developed their own approach. The key difference between our calculations and previous ones based on the Drake equation is that we make very simple assumptions about how life developed, said study co-author Christopher Consolis, a professor of astrophysics at the University of Nottingham, in an email to CNN. One of them is that life forms in a very scientific way, that it is if the right conditions are met, then life will form. This avoids impossible to answer questions such as what fraction of planets in a habitable zone of a star will form life, and what fraction of life will evolve into intelligent life, as these are not answerable until we actually detect life, which we have not yet done. So whether you're creationist or you're evolutionist at this point, I mean, the odds are out there that yes, there's going to be other life out there. There's vast swaths of ability for life to develop on some of these places, and it would be very self-centered to say that yes, we're the only ones there. And I mean, we've seen evidence, we've seen patterns that there may be possibility that some of these civilizations are trying to communicate. Yes, distance is going to be a massive problem for all of this. And if we do want to change and go and explore, we are going to have to change the way that we explore the galaxy. And SpaceX may be working towards that direction. We may see interstellar travel sooner than we thought. I mean, Elon Musk is already trying to overcome the fact that we can't get to Mars in a manned fashion. He's already trying to correct that. And the free market is doing more for the space program than any government mandate has done thus far. So, we may have answers here at some numerous point, or we may develop some different way to go out, transmit, and receive communications. I'd be willing to bet that they're out there. And I am definitely a believer that we're not alone. So we'll see what happens. Of course, we have no concrete or evidentiary proof that we're alone, but I mean, just on the statistics alone, I think the Drake model is right. I think it's quite a bit more than 36, but it's a good way to find a minimum here. Alright, so the last thing that we do on a Wednesday is something that I'm thankful for. And my faith in humanity was restored by the Airbnb that we stayed in over the past week. So I want to do something a little bit different here, and I actually want to call somebody out directly for what I'm thankful for. So it would have been very easy for a certain somebody to say no twice in the span of a week for helping out this channel and helping keep it go forward. Because, I mean, yes, I did have to cancel Ed's World last week because I was traveling, and the two people that were up didn't have the opportunity to help me out as much as they did. But I am thankful for Jessica Green at this point. I am very thankful for Jessica Green and everything that she's done for the channel, everything she's done for the Freedom Scoop Media Group at this point, helping make sure that my channel keeps going forward and that we can continue putting content up there. And as I announced on Monday, yes, I'm going to be going through the motion to actually get her up onto the channel here, so she will be joining us as a little bit of a thank you for what we're doing. And she is also going to start pushing us ahead so we can get some more written articles up on the media group. I will be reaching out to Jake later on tonight to get a few things set up, and I'll also be testing my login because I do need to make sure that works. He sent it to me 2 months ago and I still haven't checked to make sure it works. So we'll be testing that out. I will reach out to him probably later on today so we can maybe do some conferencing later tonight and make sure things are going. But I am thankful for Jessica Green. She's done a lot for everything here, and she's a great asset to the Freedom Scoop Media Group, and I know that her content will make a great addition to everything we have going along there. So that's going to be a show. Thanks everybody for coming by and checking us out throughout the day, and we will be back here tomorrow with more news, and we'll be back here on Saturday with a new Ed Talk. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it yet, but there might be a little bit of a change in the format for that episode only, so keep posted for that. We will be discussing that a little bit more tomorrow, the other person involved with that, but keep everything, keep looking at the Discord, keep looking at the Twitter for any updates as to what's coming on, and we will be back here tomorrow with more news, because one thing that's for certain in an election year, it's never going to stop. So until then, I am Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Take care.